Hey guys, this is Robin Gonzalez, and this is officially the first iTorque2d tutorial. We'll just be running through the interface and importing static objects and creating animated sprites. First for the interface, you know, basic stuff, new scene, open scene, new project, open project. Uh, One thing is when creating a new project, if you're using Windows 7 or Windows Vista, you might notice that trying to create a game, you'll continue to press this button create, but nothing happens. I found it to be a problem with uh, the the user account control. So if you had your control panel, system and security, action center, and security, you want this user account control to be off. It's that little pop-up window that says permission to install a certain program or new program. Gets annoying, and most likely you'll either turned it off by now, and if you haven't, this is where you want to go. So choose your UAC level. You really want it off. It is absolutely annoying. Anyways, if you can't create a new project, that's the problem. If that's not the problem, send me a message and I'll try to figure out another way around it. So I won't create a new project. I already got this project open. One thing is that you may press save when creating a new scene, but you don't want to do that. When you first create your scene, you want to do save as. You'll notice that there is that your scene will be called empty level 2D project, and you will want to rename it. And I called mine Introduction 001. You can name yours whatever you want, but you always want to do a save as rather than a save. Otherwise, you'll continue to save to this empty level. And later in script, you may not want to be calling to empty scene level, or you might not know what level to call or what scene to call. Moving on, we have the edit, undo, redo, simple stuff. Your preferences, you really don't have to change anything through here. You have your general, your key bindings, your scene editor, changing the background, your grid color, grid size. Some things you might want to change. But other than that, you have your key bindings, real basic, easy stuff you probably won't even use. I don't use them. You go into the project tab. You have your show start page. Will send you back to your opening if you have it set as a preference to open up the project panel, whether you want to create a new scene or open a old project. Otherwise, it'll continue to open a. Might as well show you. You either create a new one, open a new one, or open an old one. And you have your little preferences here. Load last project, load last scene. I have both checked off. I like to come here because I have multiple projects. So open. Yes, and I'll reopen my project. Is that right? Okay. Anyways, back to the project. You have run game. It's the same as pressing this play button here. Play game. It'll just show you what's within your scene. The GUI builder. You'll have multiple GUI interfaces set up through this tab, which you'll continue to make changes here. You have the name, other changes. We'll go on through this, more through this in other tutorials. One confusing thing I found is you can't hit this close or close your whole project. Just hit close GUI. You have save GUI or close GUI editor. Either one will do. You have your image map builder, which is the same as this button here in your create tab. Create new image map, which is just importing images. You have your animation builder, which is the same as create new animation, and just reload libraries and textures. Your view is just zooms. The help, you got your documentation, your keyboard shortcuts, and your 2D community, which is your garage games forums, and the about is just a version of that you own. Going through the toolbox, new scene, open scene, save scene. Now your data blocks is very important. You have data blocks for this scene, which is also seen up here. If you do not have these imported into your data blocks are just your blocks of code actually creating these images and importing them to your game. So if you do not have anything there, you play the game, it'll just show a black screen. So we'll just import them there. Just select, you can hit shift to highlight multiple ones, control to add them singly, hit the arrow key to move them over, select them on this side, hit this arrow key to move them back, and then apply. You have your clipboard selections, cut, copy, paste, your undo, redo, move layer up, move layer down. One thing to know is that when moving layers up, they're moving back. 0 is the front, while the farthest layer you can go is 31, that's the back. So when moving up, it'll go behind my scene. When moving down, it's going towards the camera in front of the screen. Your play button, your selection tool. When using your selection tool, it's usually you click the selection tool when exiting an edit mode. And we'll jump over to the camera tool. Well, you can add your camera here, and we'll just hit the selection tool to exit the edit mode. You have your text edit tool. Text functions over here in the edit tab. Just type, and then your selection tool will exit you out of it. Now moving on to your objects, once you have your object in here, you have your edit collision polygon. Select this. I've already been messing around, but I can delete all these by right clicking and left clicking to create newer ones. You can also click here, any of these X's, to delete the points on your object. Now you'll notice that you might get a red point, and it means that it's not a legal point, because it's all the collision objects have to be convex, meaning they go around. None of them can cave in. So you have this simple button here that replaces the points to create some convex objects. So just know that you can never go towards an object. You'll see this little green line that shows that it needs to be here, that 2 points can be connected, and you don't need this other point. Again, if you select your object, hover over it, have these other tools you can use. Your edit link points are actually your link points for mounting objects. You'll notice that I'll add this one here, so I have 2 for when I mount this object. You'll notice that I have 2 on the bottom and the right side, and that I could mount it to the background scene, which is an image itself, and you'll notice that it has a negative sign now. because when I move this object, the mounted object will follow along. Now you can change the mounting functions within the object itself, but we will get to that at a later time. So I will just dismount it now so I can move it freely. Going back one, we have the sort point, which I really don't know what it does, but it's a sort point. I'm guessing it somehow sorts something. I really haven't found a use for it or know what it does, so yeah, that's it. We move on to the world limits. World limits, we'll go through once we get to scripting why you want to keep some objects to a larger screen outside the camera view, and why you want to keep some within the camera view. Well, we'll keep that once we come to scripting and spawning AI or enemies and objects for a later time. So we'll hit the selection tool. And finally, you edit this image map, which is the same as double clicking in your create tab, which I'll show you in a second. You have this animated cells, which creates this object here. Here you'll double click an object, and it brings you to the image builder itself again. And here you'll notice all the time when you import a new image, it will come in smooth and filter pad. You want to deselect that. Garage Games documentation says it itself. Why they made it default to be smooth, not sure. Because every tutorial I've gone through, it says to turn it off. And it does look a little bit better. The smoothing does blur it, which I don't specifically like, so now moving on to these tabs. You have your create tab, and it holds your static sprites, animate sprites, scrollers, particle effects, tile maps, and your empty scene objects, triggers, paths, text objects, and polygons. We'll go through those in a bit. Your project tab, basic project stuff. Really don't need to mess with anything except for your feature builder. But this is going through Xcode and the final process of creating a game, whether you need to have iPod music support, movie player support, or the Game Center enabled. The Game Center is just iPhone's networking, game network, where it holds high scores and where you might be able to play multiplayer games or create multiplayer games. And further down we have the object tree, which is just a hierarchy of all the objects in your scene. Now the 2D scene graph here is your GUI builder. That is where your GUI, or this is your scene, and within that your GUI is laid on top of that. So whenever accessing the 2D scene, you're accessing this object. I believe the name that they use is 2D scene window, and you'll see here further down that you have your animated sprite, your static sprite, and this is more static sprites, and your text object. So easy enough. Further down you have your history, which you can come back to. Now to your edit tab. Now this top part is always different for what kind of objects you may have. Static sprite, your text object, your animated sprite, and so on, whether it's a particle. So we'll go with the static sprite to begin with. Oh, go over one more thing, is when you don't have an object selected, you have your scene selected. The edit tab, this is where you change your camera and you do your scene graph scripting, layer management, and the debug rendering. Debug rendering is nice. You have your bounding boxes, which is just, the standard. If you haven't changed any collisions, it also shows your collision boxes. It just shows where your objects are and how the whole image size themselves. your link points. Again, it's a little yellow crosses here on all your objects. Your world limits, if they're changed. Your collision bounds, which this one should be showing up. Maybe we just can't see it. Should show up in green. Try changing this one as well. Anyway, it should show up in green, and it'll show this little layout here for all your objects. Why it's not doing it now, don't know. You have your sort points. Again, I don't know what the sort points do. I'll eventually find it. Your debug banner shows your FPS, your frames per second, um, and so on. Just a whole bunch of little tiny things. Collision detection, your camera settings, and whatnot. Won't really need to know that stuff until you near the end of your project, anyways. And you start running into maybe frames per second problems, where your frames are going slower. Good estimated time is usually 30 to 60 frames per second. 60 is the high end, 30 is the low end. Don't really want anything to be going slower than 30 frames per second, because most screens are 30 frames per second, or the refresh rate's 30 frames per second. You'll start notice things there. The dynamic fields will be brought in later. That deals with scripting. So now actually importing objects. I'll create a new project. Call it Torque tutorial. Here, you'll create a new image map. Again, you can go through the project image map builder, and it'll get you through the same process. I will select my 72 ball, double click it here, and again I want to keep it the image mode to full. Cell will cut it up. That's left for animations. Key I've never used. I'm sure it does something. Don't know yet. Filter mode, turn that off. Filter pad, turn that off, and save it. I'll import my ball animation strip. Here I will double click that, and this is how you create an animation. You'll convert this to cell, turn off the filter mode and the filter pad. Notice how my image size is 128 by 256, and it already divided it in half, but I want it to cut it the height in a little bit more too. So we'll shrink that down to 64. And I'll show you how I created that image map in Photoshop. I will save that, and you'll notice how it converted it to 8 single images. You'll notice that there are a few 3, 6, 7, and 8 that are empty. For right now, that's okay. Once we create the animation, it will cut them out because we can custom make those. So I'll show you right now. Head over to your create a new animation button, also in project animation builder, and it will only create a source for images that have been put in cell mode. Since that's only one image right now, we only have one source image to bring about. So we'll double click it or press select, and you'll notice as soon as I bring one in, two in, you'll start seeing it animate. So I'll just get all 3 of them in here, 5, and I'll have it go backwards as well. Because later on we'll have script control it, but as for right now, we just want it moving up and down, so we'll let the animation do that. Here we can control frames per second, shrink it down to 6, and then I think 25 is what I had it at for a good round number. Cycle animation makes it loop. Your start frame is going to be 0. Depending, you'll eventually control this as well through script, whether you want to start animations or advanced animations later on through specific cycles. If you have your character celled blocked in 100 different cells, and the first 10 cells are him walking, the next 10 cells are of him running, and the next of him jumping, you can script each start frame and have it loop between 0 and 9, 10 through 19, and so on. But all that's done through code. But we'll get there eventually. So now we have our little animated sprite. Now we can bring that in. Let's see. Now we again will save as ball tutorial, and we'll head over to our edit data blocks. Since it's animated, we want both the animation strip image and the animated strip animation, 2 objects when importing a animated object. So we'll apply, otherwise you'll only get the static, or you won't get anything at all. So press the play button, and we'll see our ball bouncing. This tutorial is running long. I probably just cut off real quick, and I'll move on to the next one. Let me run over how I created the animated ball. First, I started with the initial ball. I just ran through simple gradients to create the ball effect and shadow. Real simple stuff. I just shrank the shadow size continually and just moved the ball vertically and up and down through the scene. This is a 64 by 64. One thing is that the image resolution is 326. Reason why is that the iPhone 4 is set to 326, and if you notice, this ball is called 72 ball image. It's because this sphere, this ball was set in a 72 resolution size, and if you notice, let me grab this one. It would help if I told you how to use the interface. You pan by right clicking. If you don't, you can scroll by using a mouse wheel. And that's pretty much all you really need to get across here. You would need the zoom. If you don't have a scroll wheel, I can't seem to figure out how to scroll without the scroll wheel or zoom in and out. Anyway, back to my point. This ball was created in a 326 pixel per inch file, while this red ball was created in a 72 pixel per inch file. Yet the result is nearly identical. Actually, it seems to be perfectly identical. Why? I don't know. It may be my personal preference that I use 326 pixels per inch, but it might not even make a difference. I'll have to look further into that. heading back to my animation, all you really want to do, since knowing that your animation cells are going to be 64 by 64, pretty much just copy paste each one into each individual section. Here we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's it. You save this out as a ping image itself, which comes out to be this. And this empty spots are quite fine. You really don't need to cut it out. It does reduce the image, the file size itself. So eventually you do want to cut that down if you're creating a large project, because it will save on file size and project size and download time, which is very important. Guys, for my first tutorial, didn't do too bad. I'll post another one by tomorrow, and hopefully I'll get to more teaching about the engine and how you can create games. Thanks again. This is Robin Gonzalez, and I'll see you guys next time.